They call him a basketball savant. They say he's a basketball genius, one of the best writers to ever do it. Of course, I've been meeting him and seeing him for quite so many years all around. When I worked in Phoenix, he would show up. When I worked in Cleveland, he would show up, of course, in Detroit. And you've seen him on ESPN, and you've read his work. You've read his material. He even put one of my boys down, Delvis Valentine out of Cleveland, Ohio. But he is the one, the only, Marc J. Spears. Marc, we're so happy to have you here on Sports Rap Radio. We're so happy to
Oh
have
man,
you.
y'all actually got a crowd there, huh? That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. You know how we do. We went on the corner, man, and got a couple of brothers, and everybody said, Marc's going to be here. Hey, man, tell Marc I want a couple of dollars. Marc, can you give me $5? So, Marc, once again.
I'll give you $4.50.
$4.50. Man, look, I know the Bay is a place that you love, you've embraced, they've embraced you. But the one thing we can say about you is basketball. Basketball is part of that DNA. And I don't care what they say about Woj. I don't care what they say about Wendy. All I know is that when Marc says it, that's when I know it's for real. How does it feel to be one of those voices that people come to when it's all about basketball and you have that one nugget that no one else has?
Oh man, it's a very nice honor for you to say that, man. Thank you for those kind words. It's just, I've been with basketball since I was a little boy, and to be in a place where people actually care what I have to say, like it's something to take for granted, And I give David Aldridge on this. This is something that, I think I kind of learned from him when I was in college watching David Aldridge. I always remember that every time he was on the air, he always told me something I didn't know, right? And I try to bring that on the air with me, try to bring that in my stories with me, that every time you read me, every time I talk, I tell you something that, and I really appreciate that from him, and I think people appreciate that from me.
He is, of course, Marc J. Spears. He's been around for quite some time. Marc, at 65, soon to be 66, I remember a time when I would see David Aldridge. I remember a time where I would see Sam, my former intern, Rob Parker, you. And, of course, when we look back at that time, there were very few of us. Our credentials we checked 3, 4, 5 times before entering an arena, as if we didn't earn the right to be there. But when you see so many of us, and I'm talking black journalists, videographers, talent, sportscasters, writers, columnists, talk about that joy that you and I look back and beckon to the guys like Sam Lacey of the Afro-American newspaper from back in the day, or an Art Rush Jr., and how they gave you and I the incentive to do not only what we do today, but they made us promise to do it at such a high level. I mean, that's important because it's changed, Marc. And I hit a nerve with you when you said our credentials were checked 3 and 4 times. Are you sure this is where you're sitting? Are you sure this is your seat? Or the different looks that we would look or get from people who did the same thing that we did, and maybe that publication only had 5 or 4 listeners or 3 or few addresses to go to, but yet they were in the front row and we were in the back row. How has it changed, Marc?
Well, I have to give thanks to guys like Rob Parker, Gary Howard, Neil Scarborough, Roscoe Nance, like all these brothers also in Detroit, man, that really paved the way for somebody like myself. It's there was a lot of brothers in Detroit covering the Pistons who, when I would come to town, they would make sure I was okay. They would make sure I knew where to go, where to get a haircut. And those were things that, when it came to brothers and sisters with the National Association of Black Journalists, I try to also help them out, pave the way for them too, and that's something that's really, really important to me. I think maybe sometimes the younger generation kind of looks at us funny, like why we dress up for every game, why we carry ourselves in a high esteem and very professional esteem when, I think in a lot of ways they like to dress casually. And I think they don't realize that when we were coming up, it's kind of like what you said, like we got more respect by dressing more professionally. You know, those other guys, you know what I'm saying, didn't have to do that.
That's it.
But we had to do that, and we continue to do that. And so, you know, like Rob Parker, I will say this, man, like when I was in college and I met him, I used to send him my stories, print them out, mail them to him, and he would always mail them back with, you know, fixes and, you know, you should write this way, you should write that way. And he didn't have to do that, man, you know. And so I kind of felt like when it was my turn to be a mentor, I had to have the same kind of Rob Parker mentality. Like we have to bring each other up. And, you know, sadly in this business, there are some people that look like us that once they make it, they forget about everybody else behind them, right? Or they do what they feel like they need to do to be popular and sell out to survive. But that's something I'll refuse to do, and I'll continue to reach back and try to help my folks.
Hey, look, I know your mama wasn't no math teacher in Akron, Ohio. Needless I say anymore. He is Marc Spears. He's our guest right here on Sports Rap Radio. Teron Finley, we got Johnny Hill in the booth. Brother, you've been doing some work. That Olympic team taking on Serbia, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm scared, bro. I just don't know if they got it. We may be coming. LeBron may be going in his last Olympics the way he went to his first Olympics, getting a bronze medal. They better get it together soon because that exhibition that they had just the other day, that wasn't good. I don't know it's Australia. It doesn't matter. That wasn't good. And you know Serbia is going to be smelling blood today. It's going to be interesting.
Man, relax.
Well, tell them to play better, man. Look, Mark, Mark, I'm older than you, man. My heart can't take it.
Hey, man, go have some coffee. You know.
Now he's going to tell me to have some coffee. Everybody say I'm too hyped up as it is. Mark, man,
decaf, bro. Decaf. No, here's the thing about this team, and this is why they will win. Last year, the problem with that team was they didn't have size, right? So if you look at how they played offensively, it was actually, Grant Hill told me this, the most efficient offensive team that USA Basketball has ever had. But it was also the worst defensive team that they ever had. You know, so they didn't have size. They didn't have rebounding. This team has tremendous size, and it certainly has a rebounding ability. Like you even have guys like LeBron James that can play power forward or center on this level, on the international level, right? Obviously, they don't have a ton of chemistry, but they have super talent. And I was at the game in Canada. To me, Canada's better than Australia, more talented than Australia, and they were beating them pretty handily by 20. It's exhibition games, man. They're trying things out. Don't worry about it. They'll be fine. And the thing is that USA also got lucky by having an easy bracket during the preliminary round in the Olympics. So I think that will help them gain more chemistry before the knockout rounds begin. They'll be fine, man.
Hi, Mark. This is Teron Finley. I appreciate talking to you today. Been a big fan of your work. But
thank you.
I wanted to ask about a guy.
Oh, no.
yeah, he goes, but.
Well, I want to ask about a guy that, you know, everyone in Detroit is interested in right now, a guy that you wrote about. What does it take for Ron Holland to get to this level? He's played, you know, at the U17 or things like that, I believe. So how can Ron Holland get to this level? And I'm talking about Team USA. What does he have to do?
I mean, it's going to take some years, some time. You know, Ron's like 19 years old. He's young, you know, so I'm thinking 2032 probably for him. So he's got some time. But in doing the diary with him, I just noticed that he, to me, is Detroit basketball. He plays with a hard hat. He plays with a chip on the shoulder. He definitely could have been on the Bad Boys. He definitely could have been with Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace and crew. That, like, one thing you're not going to miss from him is effort. He's going to play hard every night. If he gets pushed, he's going to push back harder. You know, him and big fella who like putting up his hands in Detroit, I feel like they're going to get in a fight in practice. Him and Stewie, like, you know, watch out. Like, he's tough like that. The one thing he's missing is a jump shot. I think he'll grow into having that. But this dude was getting 30 points in the G League, 30-plus points in games without a notable jump shot. So once he gets that, what is he, right? So I think he's he's like a power small forward to me. Tough kid, love his family. I really enjoyed doing this diary, and you can see the diary on ESPN Plus on Ron Holland. It's going up soon. But the one thing I also say about him off the court, he was extremely professional. Every time we taped, he showed up on time or early. No, he showed up early. And he never was rushing us. He was very engaged, very enthusiastic to do it. It was actually, when we did the last taping at the draft, man, it was kind of emotional, man. I felt like we watched him grow, and you got to see your little brother do something. And so I got a lot of love for that kid, and I think the Pistons picked a great player to come.
Here's Marc Spears joining us live on the air right here at Sports Rap Radio. Ronnie Duncan. Marc, you've got a very special project that you enjoy talking about, and that's the Conversation Project that's on Hulu. Can you speak more on it? I know you did it in ABJ. I know that you inspired a lot of young black journalists. They have come back and told me about it. But tell our audience what it's all about.
Yeah, no, we had a television show that came out on Hulu last year. It's been an award-winning project. It's, to me, an iron sharpens iron black television show where it's myself, Chef David Lawrence, and Elaine Welterroth from Project Runway and P-Vogue. And every show we have 5 different very successful African Americans together at dinner. And whether it's our appetizer, it's our main course, or our dessert, which Chef prepares, we have a different topic that is near and dear and maybe even controversial or heartwarming or even painful for African Americans to talk about. And also with each episode, we highlight Black-owned wine. So to me, it's very intelligent show, iron sharpens iron show. I thank you for asking me about it because I thought our promotion of it could have been much better because there's a lot of black folks that don't know of this show, but everybody that starts watching it, there's nothing like it on television, and they watch all 6 episodes real quick, and hopefully we'll end up getting a second season. But please watch it. Please spread the word, and trust me. Like we have some great guests, like rappers like Shine and Roxanne Shante and Jim Jones, and we have comedians. We have an astronaut who calls himself an Afronaut. Actresses like that you're actors and actresses that you'll see,
We're definitely going to tune in on that, man, because
what's that?
We're going to definitely tune in on that because that is a lot of things for a lot of big appetites. Hey, look, in the words of the great Branson Wright, you did the damn thing, man. That's what we like. Sports Rap Radio. He was Marcus J. Spears. He was our guest. Thank you, Teron. Thank you, Johnny Hill. Thank you to, of course, Ruth D. Bolton, as well as my man Sean Gibbons and everybody else who contributed toward this show. I'm Ronnie Duncan. I'll see you again tomorrow. And closing, thank you, Marc. 3, 2, 1. We are done.